Welcome everyone for the regularly planned meeting of the City of Atascadero Planning Commission for July 5th. We will go ahead and have a Pledge of Allegiance led by Jason, and if everybody could mute themselves except for Jason, that'd be great.
Hand over your heart. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jason.
You.
We do not have Annette here tonight, so Phil is doing double duty. He is going to be our secretary for tonight, and we'll have him do a roll call. Phil, you're...
Yeah, I'm trying to get my camera working again. It won't come on for some reason. It's doing some weird things. It'll come on in a minute, but you can hear me okay. So we're going to go ahead and start roll call and wait for that to come up. Chairperson Jeff Vander Nykoff.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Tori Keene.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Carranza.
Present.
There. Commissioner Heath.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes.
Present.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Here.
You're there. Okay, good enough. For the record, all 7 commissioners are here. Good evening, and let's move on.
Great. Thank you, Phil. Yeah, thank you. It's great to see everybody. I'm surprised that everybody's here during
July
the summer,
5th.
but this is terrific. So we'll go ahead and if I can get a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
I'll make the motion, please.
I'll second.
And I will note, just for the record, that staff is going to be recommending continuance of the item, what's noted as 4, which is really item number 2 on your agenda, which is the upcoming revisions to ADUs, urban dwelling units, and urban lot splits. But we will be having to open that to the public tonight. So we'll get to that as you approve the agenda.
Okay. So we had Dennis was the first, and then Jason was the second. Can we have a roll call, Phil?
Yeah, sorry, who was the first on that?
I was.
Dennis. Commissioner Schmidt.
Schmidt, okay. Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carranza. Commissioner Carranza on that one?
It's like she just froze.
Uh-oh, she froze up. All right, we'll come back to that.
Well, that's
Commissioner
one
Keene?
on.
Yes.
She's available now.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Carranza,
Yes. Approved.
and Chair Van Eyck.
Yes.
All right. I think we got all of you. Good deal.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Now we'll move into the public comment portion of the meeting, which is reserved for anybody that would like to address the commission on any item that is not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and if you could please state your name for the record before making any kind of presentation, we'd appreciate that. Let's look and see what we get here. We do have some attendees, so if you would like to make any public comment on an item that is not on the agenda, we invite you to do that. If you can raise your hand on Zoom or press *9 on your phone to raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment portion of the meeting. And if I could get a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
I'll approve.
Phil, can we have a roll call on that? You're muted, Phil.
We should figure out a way to do this by straw vote. Now I know what Annette does each time, goes through the whole thing. All right, roll call, please. Commissioner Keene,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Carranza,
Yes.
and Chair Van Eyck.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0 on the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you. Oh, it does look like that we had community development staff report. It was number 2 was the upcoming revisions to the ADU, but I also see that it's number 4 as well. Can I get some clarification on that, Phil?
Looks like a little bit of mistake on the way the agenda was printed. So why don't we just, let's do this. Let me see the way it's printed in the rest of the report. Staff is going to be recommending continuance to that. Why don't we just get through that right now? Let me just see.
It does have to be a public
has to.
hearing, so we do need to then
Can,
go to the public hearings and then maybe revise the agenda.
Well, actually, the way it's ordered here, let me just take a look.
it's item number 4 in the packet itself, just not on the agenda.
Well, no, it's item number, let's see, item was continued number 2. It's actually listed as item number 3 in the packet. Oh, this is a mess. Hold on just a second here.
No, item 3 is the condo map.
Annette.
But I'm looking at the top of the agenda packet.
Yep.
It's actually listed as item number 3 on the title page of the staff report that recommends. Oh, she included the old staff report. That's what it is. Okay, never mind. I'm confused. All right, so we do have it as item 4. So you did approve the agenda. So let's proceed with the agenda as you had approved, which will mean we are currently on
Number 3, which is the parcel map.
Yeah, the map.
We
Okay.
have 2 3s.
It's
So we're
confusing
gonna-
because she published an old staff report in there
Yeah,
that was meant to help us out, but it confused us. So let's move on.
we'll go ahead and enter the public hearing portion of the meeting. For each of the following items, the public will be given the opportunity to speak. After the staff reported, the chair will open the public hearing and invite the applicant or applicant's representative to make any comments. Members of the public will be invited to provide testimony to the commission following the applicant. Speakers should state their name for the record and can address the commission for 3 minutes. After all public comment has been received, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will discuss the item and take appropriate actions. Do we have any ex parte on item number 3, parcel map for 3710 El Camino Real? Jason,
No expert.
Greg? You were muted, but it looked like you said no.
Oh, no ex parte.
Okay, Dennis?
People have been speaking to me about the draft report and the way it's written and are not liking the way it's done.
Okay.
Particularly the size of the unit.
Tori
No ex parte.
and Randy?
No ex parte.
Okay, and it looks like we're missing Commissioner Carranza. She stepped out. So we will, and I have no ex parte as well either. So we'll go ahead and move to the staff report. Kelly, if you have that item.
It always moves my microphone around on me whenever I do it. Are you seeing the actual presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So tonight we're looking at a condominium subdivision at 3710 El Camino Real. The property is zoned commercial retail. It's just north on El Camino from the Kmart Center. It's kind of this very skinny property right here next to an existing residential development and an underutilized commercial property with a single family house on it. This is an aerial view of the property. There were 2 existing homes that have recently been demolished on the property, as well as some oak trees that were approved for removal with the original development. So the original development was approved back in November 2020. It went forward as a conditional use permit to allow the mixed use development. So normally commercial developments would be just a building permit, but because they added residential to this project, it was a conditional use permit. They are in the building permit process, and permits have been issued for demolition of the existing houses, tree removal, and preliminary site grading. We expect their building permits to be issued in the next month or so. This is sort of an overview of what that original project approval looked like. So there are a total of 4 buildings on the site with residential units above. There's a building along El Camino Real, another one towards the back, and then to meet sort of fire department turnaround standards, there's a parking area here, and then one building toward the back that includes a larger commercial area that could potentially be 2 commercial units as well as residential units above. Let me just go back. So they are requesting 7 residential condo units, which are located above the commercial development. There's a total of 4 potential commercial tenant spaces. There's also garages for the residential uses that are part of the buildings. Not all of the garages touch the residential spaces above, and so those will be designed as separate units, but there's a condition that those be linked through the condo plan to a residential unit so that they cannot be sold separately. So staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the project as conditioned for the condominium subdivision. It's important to note that if the project were to be denied tonight, the project would still move forward with construction. It just would not allow for the individual sale of the units. So as always, the Planning Commission can approve the project with modifications to the conditions of approval, refer the item back to staff and the applicant for more information, or deny the project to allow the airspace subdivision. That concludes staff's presentation. I am available for any questions, and I hope that I can get over to our participants. I don't know if the applicant is in attendance tonight, but we do have one raised hand.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Any questions of the commissioners for staff? Okay, if that is the case, then we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to address us if they would like.
I see somebody on as L. Richardson. I don't know if that's the applicant or not. If there's somebody else that's the applicant, it's the raise hand feature on Zoom, or it's *9. Is that correct, Jeff, if you're on the phone?
That's right.
So why don't we allow L. Richardson to speak?
Yep.
You can now speak if you'd like to unmute yourself.
I'm Linda Richardson. I work for MBS Land Surveys, and we are the agent for the applicant. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions of the applicant from our Planning Commission? Okay. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on this item? If so, please raise your hand.
Looks like MD would like to speak, and Gene Owen as well.
Yeah. Kelly, can you allow MD in?
Yes, he or she should be able to talk if they unmute.
MD, if you could please unmute and then address us.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Martha, and this is actually my first time attending one of these meetings, so I don't know too much about it. One concern I had was just maybe preserving the old native trees that are there. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Jeanne or Janine?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I am Jeannie Owen. I live at 3750 El Camino Real, apartment C4. And last Wednesday, the 29th, I came home about 3:30 to find my back fence fallen in. About 15 feet of it was on the ground, and it's a 10-foot tall wooden fence, and it had fallen back into my yard crushing a Japanese maple and some of my patio furniture. And I was not home when this happened, but when I saw it at 3:30, I don't remember any wind. So I don't know how this happened.
Have you reached out to the contractor that's working on the project?
No, not yet.
That would probably be our first recommendation, was to reach out to them. Otherwise, we can bring in the building official that can help with that.
Okay. Who is the person I need to contact?
I do not know, but if you could contact the city during regular business hours, somebody could.
Actually, on a topic like this, you definitely would suggest you reach out to the property owner next door to you. The city can't really help you with a civil matter. If you think the neighboring property owner knocked over your fence, contact them immediately. If you're not able to get resolution there, or not able to find their contact, we can share the contact information with you. But we're not able to help you with that situation in this hearing tonight unless you've got particular questions about the project itself. But if they've damaged your property, you need to take that up with that property owner and do that as soon as you possibly can.
Okay, I see. All right, I'll do that. I also wanted to mention the old growth trees that have been cut down. I measured the circumference of them, and one was 10 feet around and the other was 12 feet around. So these were pretty good sized trees that were taken out.
Yes, and we're aware of the trees on the property, and we can discuss that with the Planning Commission here in a little bit.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Owen. We'll call on Jana.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, similar to actually Ms. Owen, I live in the same property, which is neighboring this proposed project. And I believe they've actually damaged the fence for the whole condominium along the fence line, not just Mrs. Owen's fence during the time that they were cutting down the trees, and then possibly last week on that Wednesday when there was more work being done. I mean, I have concerns about the old growth trees that were removed, but obviously that's already been approved, I guess, by this commission. I would really love to hear more information of how that process went and what was necessary, and if there's any kind of remediation or replanting of trees that are part of that approval process. In addition, I have a question as far as, are there any regulations when this work can be performed? Because the work seemed to have started on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. when they started cutting down the trees. And again, they're surrounded by residential units. I don't know if that's a normal or regular kind of proceeding, but it seemed unnecessary to be starting that early on a weekend. And then I also have I'm wondering, when would this project, when is it scheduled to start as far as the building or more work to be done, just in terms of expectation, because our backyards are facing that property. So it will definitely have an impact on the quality of life here for some time, I imagine.
Are there any other questions? We'll address these after public comment.
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other people that are online that would like to make a comment during public comment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public comment and bring it back to staff. Phil or Kelly, could you answer some of the questions that they had regarding development that's already going on?
Sure. So,
go for it.
So we did hear comment about the oak trees. I think as we stated in our presentation, those were approved as part of the November 2020 approval of the mixed use development. It's a really narrow lot. And I think part of the, the findings were that, to meet fire department access standards and building code regulations, those really needed to be removed in order to allow the site to develop. They did have to pay some oak tree mitigation per our ordinance. So I believe we took in about $9,000 in oak tree mitigation for that. They are adding trees back onto the site in the more sort of dense parking lot areas. The planters are too small for oak trees, so they're choosing another species for that area. But I do believe they have some oak trees planned for the rear of the site adjacent to the freeway. So they do have permits. Our construction hours, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't pull up my code when I'm using my screen for the presentation. I believe is 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday has different hours or not allowed at all.
That sounds about right. Yes, that's pretty close. Yeah.
We don't normally see a lot of construction happening on Saturday, but I do know the tree companies do go out and do work on Saturdays. So hopefully it won't continue on the weekends, but they are able to do that if they need to. We did issue a rough grading permit and the tree removal permit and the demo permit. I expect that the rough grading will start relatively soon as they're trying to prep the site for the building permits that'll be issued within the next 2 to 4 weeks. So I would anticipate that construction activity will start to pick up on the site.
And just to reiterate what Phil was said, can you let them know what to do about the fence issue?
Definitely. So the best thing to do with a sort of a property issue dispute is to contact the property owner, the developer. All of that information is public record down at City Hall in terms of who is pulling the permits and who's responsible for the permitting and the construction. So feel free to give staff a call. We're at 461-5000, and you can ask for anybody in the planning department, and we will be able to get that contact information for you if you don't have it.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Okay, we'll bring it back to Planning Commission for any kind of discussion. Dennis, looks like your hand's up.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to ask 2 questions, please. You had mentioned that some of the tree replacement on the property was non-oak tree. Are the ones that are being replaced as non-oaks, are they native trees?
No, many of them are not. Some of the planters are only 1.5 to 2 feet wide. And so a lot of our natives do not do well in that environment because of how narrow the site is and the fire department access standards. The planter spaces were greatly reduced. So there's not enough room for a larger scale tree in most of those areas. They do have some native bushes. I think they have some manzanitas throughout the site. And then the rear of the site where the detention basin is will have the majority of the native plantings.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, do they pay mitigation fees for these trees so we can plant trees elsewhere in our community?
They did, as I stated before, we brought in a little over $9,000 in mitigation on this property. Those funds do go towards other native tree planting areas within the city that can be maintained and cultivated for our native tree species. But generally in commercial environments, we understand that there's sort of a need for access and parking and things like that that don't always aren't always compatible with larger native trees with established root zones.
Okay, thank you. On number 2, you had said to the to people who were calling in that activity might start within 2 or 4 weeks or so with respect to grading activity. Are there mitigations that are involved with the grading activity? For instance, like dust control? Do they have to be responsible for controlling dust from floating around in the area?
Yeah, so we do expect building construction to start within 2 to 4 weeks. The site grading will likely start more immediately than that. The city does have dust control requirements on a site, so they have to be constantly watering the site, especially in the summer months, and certain kinds of soil that kicks up more dust than others. We are very strict about our dust control requirements. So if there's ever any dust on the site or any dirt leaving the site into the city street, we ask that neighbors or anybody that sees that reaches out to the community development department immediately. And we do go out and monitor those complaints and make sure that sites are complying.
I'll note that about dust, dirt tracking into the street, and they should be having some type of mitigation at the entrance to try to alleviate the tires of earth soils so they don't track in the street. Is that true?
Yes, and they have that on site. It was not in place during our pre-construction meeting, but they had said that they would be placing it at the construction entrance within the next couple days. I think we were out there late on Thursday. So I'm
Are
not sure
there
if they've
other
kept the site since then.
remediations for tracking in the street? I'll note, I ride my bike a lot, and I can definitely say there's a lot of tracking of soil in the street despite having the mitigations for removing soil from tires. So if there is tracking in the street, do the applicants then have to have the street cleaned in any way to remediate that or not?
It's a possibility. The best bet would be to call our Public Works Department. It's a stormwater violation if there's tracking of dirt, and erosion control violation if there's tracking of dirt and debris into the street. And they definitely go out and monitor that situation. But we do rely on neighbors and people in the area. It's a big city. And so if that is occurring, we'd love for you to let us know.
And then there will be a pre-construction inspection of the site to make sure that the BMP measures, the best management practice measures for soil controls and for silt fencing and for fiber roll and tree protection and all that stuff will be in place before they start?
Yes, so we had a pre-construction meeting for their rough grading with the Public Works Department and Planning Department, and then they'll have another pre-construction meeting that includes the Building Department as well. And we'll get into a little bit more details of utilities and things like that.
Okay.
Going back to tree protection, is there any trees left on the site? I thought the site was 100% cleared.
There is one tree that they are trying to save towards the rear of the development. The applicant is trying hard. The arborist is a little uncertain if it will be able to be saved, but they are trying to do that. So they do have some fencing up around that and are trying to get the arborist out there during grading to make sure that the tree is treated as well as it can be for survival.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Any other questions from staff? And if not, would somebody be willing to make a motion? Tori?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, I guess, so all we're really voting on today is to take it from a rental unit to somebody being able to buy it as a condo, the airspace.
Correct.
Okay. How does that affect the city? Does it affect the city?
It doesn't really. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, it does not really affect the city. It's a different method of obviously having these units financed. It allows for ownership. You're going to have multiple different owner potential on this property. In terms of long-term property tax revenues, we look far out in the future, 20, 30 years. That's usually a significant enhancement for the city and for the county and for the school districts, because of the fact when an apartment project stays an apartment project, it typically stays in the same ownership for many, 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 many years. And due to Prop 13, those property tax values, you end up with a better tax revenue setup. So that's probably the only long-term change to think about.
Okay. But if we're changing to condos that we're selling, does that affect our acronym? I can't remember numbers.
Housing numbers?
It does not affect our arena numbers at all. A unit is a unit, whether it's for sale or for rent.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
I'll make a motion now. I was just curious.
Okay.
I just got to ask those questions. Can you put it on the slide there, Kelly, for me? Thank you. Okay, I move that the planning commission adopts PC resolution approving condominium subdivision for a previously approved mixed-use development based on findings and subject to conditions of approval.
I'll second.
Who was that? I? Was that Randy?
Ready? Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do roll call.
Thank you.
And Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carranza,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
and Chair Van Eyck.
Yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move to our item number 4, which is going to be the continuation of the upcoming revisions to the ADUs, urban dwelling units, and urban lot splits. Since this was already noticed, we will open this up for a public hearing. So if anybody wants to make any comments, but it will be continued to a date certain of July 19th, 2022. So if there's anybody that would like to speak on item number 4, the upcoming revisions to the ADUs, urban dwelling units, and urban lot splits, if you'd like to raise your hand.
And just while we're waiting for that, just momentarily, I just want to provide a little bit of input on that. This activity is going to include quite a big number of amendments to our municipal code. It's taking us quite a bit of time to finish those amendments and have it reviewed by our city attorney team. That's why this has been continued. But when we do get this on the 19th, I just want to stress to you, it's going to be a big packet. There's going to be a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of code to read. I am available. Kelly's going to be available for discussion for you to go through stuff. We're going to try and get that packet out as early as possible. Even on the 19th, we may not get through everything. We may have to continue it, and that's okay. There's no strict timeline. I just want to let you know that ahead of time that, you know, it's going to have multiple amendments. We're going to be dealing with SB 9 and accessory dwelling units and other code amendments that touch those amendments. So it's quite a bit. So this is kind of a big comprehensive update. Anyway, I just want to say that. And if there's anybody from the public that does want to chime in, since we are open public hearing. And I will also mention that if you can actually do a formal motion to continue,
Yes.
that would be great as well.
Great. So the public hearing is open if anybody would like to speak on this item, but it will be coming back on the 19th. Okay, I'm not seeing any. If I could get a motion to continue this item.
I move to continue.
I'll second.
Okay, we had a first from Commissioner Anderson, a second from Commissioner
Randy.
Hughes.
Yep.
All right. Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Keen.
Oops, wrong button. Yes.
I'm out of order here a little bit. Okay, Commissioner Carranza,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
I recuse myself, please.
and Commissioner Van Eyck.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes 6-0 with Schmidt recused for a potential conflict. All right.
Great. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and move to a director's report. Phil, do you have anything for us for today?
I will tell you that at your next hearing, we will be discussing accessory dwelling units and Senate Bill 9, and it will be a healthy discussion. We've got a lot to talk about there. Other than that, we're just kind of looking to see what's going to happen, you know, with 2023 and development. And a lot of our time in the next 9 to 12 months is really going to be talking about policy updates associated with the general plan update, objective design standards, a lot of things coming down the pipeline in addition to this SB9 and accessory dwelling and stuff. So we'll probably be seeing less development review projects, I'm anticipating, given the interest rates that are happening now, and more policy amendments that have been put off for a couple of years. So might be a good chance for us to catch up on those things as we predict there might be a bit of a development slowdown. Some of our residential projects, our larger ones, are already asking for additional time. They're asking for extensions for their permits because
Roseville.
Yeah, so things are changing right now. It's an interesting time.
Mhm.
Did I freeze up for a minute there?
Yeah.
Am I unfrozen? Did you
Yeah.
hear
We got the
everything I said, or
We got
or
the gist.
no?
We got the
Okay, you got
gist.
the gist.
We
of it.
got
All right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so
Anyway,
frozen, we let it go.
all right. But anyway, if you have any other questions about what's happening in the community, I'd be happy to answer them.
Dad joke.
Commissioner Schmidt.
I wonder if you're able to comment about the emergency ordinance process with respect to the last issue that we discussed. The ordinance was adopted on December 14th, and I thought for 6 months. So has it expired or not?
No, it actually is not. It actually got sort of passed as an interim ordinance, not an urgency ordinance. So there is no time limit.
Okay.
It actually can stay for quite a while. But we'd like to get it cleaned up because the council did want us to do some changes to that. And now that we've had some time to sit with it and watch other communities deal with this Senate bill, we do have some additional stuff we'd like to add into it. But we do have time. We're not under a strict timeline, but nevertheless, now's the time to act.
Thank you.
Super. Victoria, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I had a question about, because I was reading through a lot of the LAMP from 2018, I think it was when it was last revised. And it mentioned something about the OTWS, the on-site, I can't think of the alphabet.
Wastewater
On-site
treatment
wastewater
system.
treatment system, yes. Mentioned about the ordinance that was created in conjunction with that LAMP, that in 5 years it was supposed to be updated again, and that I was counting the years and I was like, okay, that's 2023. So is that going to happen before or after or during? I'm just curious about that part.
That will happen afterwards. So that is something that the city is going to continue to update, every few years as regional water standards develop and as other state standards develop, and as we have more and more analysis in that arena. But that's not going to be tied to what we're doing with this particular process for second units or for accessory units or for Senate Bill 9. Although it greatly depends on that, because a lot of our properties are on septic and they're going to be much more restrictive to development than are the properties on sewer.
Is that based on just limited staff time to do that in conjunction? Or I know these things are running in parallel and there's like, where do you put which ones to prioritize?
Yeah, right now the focus in Public Works is really gearing up to actually upgrade and enhance the wastewater treatment plant. And I don't know, they've started the activity of renewing, the on-site wastewater studies. And so it really is relying upon staff time. That's a project that will happen with Nick's team in the Public Works Division. And I haven't heard an update recently of where they are with that. So we can bring some more information back to you on that soon as I discuss that.
Great. Any other questions of staff? If not, then we will adjourn to our next meeting, which will be July 19th, and we look forward to hearing all about the SB9 and ADUs.